Welcome, James. James Gill is the founder of Ecosend, and the title of his speech is How to Apply Digital Sustainability to Email Marketing. During this rapid talk, James explained how you can apply the principles of digital sustainability to email marketing. Packed with information and practical takeaways, you will come out of this talk armed with ideas and practical next steps to make your email marketing both more sustainable and more effective. So thank you, James, for being here with us. And the floor is yours.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Nicola and Pietro, for introducing me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really, really excited to talk to you all today. And thank you for giving your lunch hours over to this. I'm really excited to chat with you all. I've got a little presentation here, and hopefully we can go through it all in the time we have. So yes, I'm here talking about sustainable emails and sustainable email marketing in particular. I just wanted to give a bit of background on myself and what we do at Ecosend, and then talk a little bit about the issue. What is the issue with sending email? Why is there a climate impact to sending email? And really crucially, then to look at what you can actually do about that. If you're in a business or sending email in any capacity, we'll look at some practical steps you can take to influence that in a positive way. So that's me in this room. I've been building software for almost 2 decades now. I started when I was very young, and I've always loved building software. Only about 2.5 years ago, realized that what we do online, what we do in the cloud, actually has a physical presence which has a carbon footprint. And this realization dawned on me, and since discovering and realizing that working on software wasn't free of environmental consequences, really set myself and our team on trying to address that in some capacity. And that led us on a journey to building Ecosend. And Ecosend is we call it a climate conscious email marketing platform. So if you're familiar with something like MailChimp, which people use to send newsletters, we're very much like MailChimp, but our whole focus, our whole ethos is on trying to be as environmentally conscious as possible with the way we build software and the way we work with our customers. We work with lots of customers now and help send lots of emails. And so hopefully that helps share why there's lots of lessons here from doing this that I can hopefully translate. In terms of the issue, as was said at the start, we're here obviously talking about the digital world and making it more sustainable. So perhaps some of this is already known information or well understood amongst those listening, but I thought I'd just go over some of the high level info just to start with. Some estimates say that the global energy usage of the IT sector is actually, if it was viewed as a country, it would be the 3rd biggest country in the world after China and America. So if you just take up all of the devices, all of the cloud computing, all of the everything we do digitally, it's of course a massive, massive consumer of the energy we have on the planet. And of course, that energy is not entirely produced with renewable sources. And so many estimates suggest that the emissions from digital, when you look at it on the whole, are somewhere in the region of up to 4%, which is in many ways a mind-blowing large number when we don't even think about climate when we are looking at our digital lives. You know, think of all the news articles you see about power stations or fast fashion or manufacturing or the airline industry. We rarely talk about digital as being a user of energy or a contributor to any of our climate challenges. In fact, that 4% number means it's very much on a par with the waste industry in terms of emissions, which is just a startling contrast in terms of awareness and impact. And with anything climate, we talk about carbon footprint a lot. We talk about carbon a lot. And that is, of course, a big piece. But it's not just about carbon, at least in our eyes. When you look at digital and in particular, when you look at cloud computing, what even is the cloud? We all talk about the cloud as this mythical, wonderful magic that happens in the sky somewhere. But in reality, the cloud is lots and lots of computers in data centers consuming huge amounts of energy. The other challenge of building data centers is when you put hundreds of thousands of computers together in one building, they generate a lot of heat. And so one of the big challenges with data centers as well is keeping them cool. And to keep them cool requires water, usually. They usually use fresh water. So data centers have this whole other issue with needing fresh water, usually perfectly drinkable water that is used to keep them cool too. So there's all sorts of ramifications there. Not to mention as well, data centers are very large buildings which require lots of land that could be used for other purposes. So there's a lot behind the scenes of digital that has a big impact. For us, we're not trying to solve all of those problems. There are a lot of people trying to solve a lot of these problems and taking different angles. One of the areas we saw that was not being looked at was email. We saw lots of people building sustainable websites, thinking about maybe sustainable advertising. We didn't see anyone solving this for email. And we thought that was quite surprising, given some estimates suggest, and this is a number from Mike Berners-Lee, that a campaign can have a very tangible carbon footprint. Some estimates up to 26 grams for sending an email to 100 people. And when you think about how that multiplies out, we don't just send 100 emails a day. In fact, we send somewhere in the region of 350 billion emails every single day on the planet. And that number just keeps on growing. I don't know if anyone else has checked their inbox this morning, but they probably have a few emails in there that need to be read. So we look at this and we've tried our best to get a grasp of how that carbon footprint should be calculated and how we actually calculate a number to represent a carbon footprint for email. And the best we've managed to figure out is just to break it down into these building blocks. There is energy needed at different stages of the equation. There's energy needed with your local computer and the service you use to create an email. There's energy needed to send that email. And the big thing that dictates how much energy is used beyond the creation piece is how big the file is. You're sending a file and it's being received, maybe in the same country, maybe all around the world. The more people you send, the more emails to, the bigger the energy needs and ultimately the carbon footprint. So in this, I just wanted to talk through a few ideas for how to address this in your own campaigns. Sending smaller emails, so reducing the file size, sending fewer emails, using lighter forms to build your audience, and then offsetting what you can't control. So I'll just jump into those quickly. Sending smaller emails. Often, especially for marketers, we often think, let's put lots of images in, let's go really creative. It's a really fun thing sometimes to create a nice newsletter or email. But all of those additional assets have a weight. These things don't just have an impact on energy usage, they also have an impact on whether an email is actually likely to be delivered and opened. Doing a lot of these changes actually is really beneficial from a sustainability perspective and a marketing perspective. What we've found is that actually you often can see much higher open rates when you stick to the basics. strip out as much code as possible, strip out unnecessary images, and keep it focused on the goal of the campaign. Often images are a big piece. Anyone talking about sustainable web design will often jump straight to that as a big opportunity to optimize things. Images in the wrong formats, large images that don't need to be as large as they are, non-optimized images. All of these are opportunities to reduce the size of your campaign. There's often a lot of email code in an email. And so this is another piece where we've seen that when people use drag and drop builders, they can generate lots of unnecessary code. These things all combine because the email is not just being sent once, it can often be sent hundreds of thousands of times and is then stored in an inbox forever, usually. So these things all have, changing it once is multiplied out many times. In fact, we've seen when we strip out some of those unnecessary pieces of code, we can reduce the size of an email down to 1/3 of the original size. And that's without even visually changing the email at all. That's just code optimization. So there's a lot that can be done to improve things there. And those also lead to higher click-through rates too. Now, another thing we can do is send fewer emails. Now, if you're a marketer, you might be a little bit surprised by that. That's not the top of the list for any email marketing person. Sending fewer emails is a good idea in that you just want to strip out the people that don't need to receive the email. So thinking about how you can reduce the numbers of emails sent out to any email addresses that are misspelt, that aren't going to receive it anyway, that might be bouncing, and that might be disengaged. So doing that automatically is a good idea, and finding tools that can segment that out is great. And then there's a piece which really overlaps with the sustainable web design piece, which is our forms. A lot of websites use these very complex forms. They're often dynamically loaded. They're another asset getting loaded on a web page. If they're not optimized, that is often lots and lots of unnecessary data being transferred and energy being needed to use. So trying to optimize those forms and be as clean and reducing the weight of that asset is a really, really crucial piece. This, of course, also helps with conversion. And then finally, there's a piece of this equation which can't be controlled. No matter how well you do as a marketer or someone sending out email, your recipients decide what devices they use. They decide where they are in the world, and they decide which inbox provider they use. And different providers have different energy footprints and carbon footprints. So the best we've found to address this piece is to try to estimate that, try to at least get a ballpark idea, and then do whatever we can to invest in other causes and other high impact areas to offset that piece that is out of our control. So there's just a few helpful tips. With Ecosend, we're obviously trying to make this all easier for people. We think about this in everything we do as a platform. And it really, the best metaphor I could think of was this sort of stack. And it starts with just like caring about this stuff. Everyone on this call cares about this. And so having the right values and ethics in a business is a really important thing. The good thing is often a lot of these things you do from a climate perspective also have positive impact for marketing efforts and other areas. We think about who supplies us and making sure we're picking values aligned suppliers too. Thinking about the infrastructure we use and which servers to host our software on, and what can be the most efficient in terms of energy usage. Thinking about the software itself that we build and how we write the most efficient software, making sure that we are very conscious of every line of code we have and the energy footprint of how we write that code. Thinking about the interface and how that loads and how efficient that is, very much the sustainable web design principles to make sure we don't put unnecessary things in the interface that might be unnecessarily heavy. And then the top layer is really helping our customers be smarter about the campaigns they're sending and giving them great recommendations for how they can send more sustainable, but also more effective campaigns. So those are all things we think about, and that's the software. We also do a lot of stuff to invest in other great causes, and not just climate, but other brilliant charities and things around the world, helping support people that have been affected by climate. And so I would just say to that, even if your software is very hard to change, there are always other ways you can kind of have an impact on the world, even doing things remotely. And then if you're interested, a good starting place, of course, with anything is to measure your current impact. There's that saying that is that it's very hard to improve what you don't measure. So we built this calculator that helps you understand your own carbon footprint of any of your own campaigns and gives you a ballpark. And hopefully that's helpful, and I'm sure we can share that link around after. And that's the team. We're not a huge company. We're all and the dog is also part of the team. But yeah, if that's been helpful, would love to speak more. And my email address is there, so if anyone does want to speak, I'd be more than happy to discuss further. And there we go. Thank you.
Fantastic. Nicola, is that okay if may I intrude with a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome also to Francesco Follone on our board. And James, just a very quick, hopefully easy. If I understand, you started 3 years ago, or did I misunderstood?
Yes, about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And after the first setting and so on, how is the business going? So what is the answer of the market? Which kind of companies are buying in? Is there any trend that you see? Anything you can share with us?
That's a really good question. We started Ecosend 2 to 3 years ago, and we started thinking, will anyone care? Does anyone care about this like we care? And we started by reaching out to people that seemed to already care about sustainability in some way. I think you have Tom from Whole Grain speaking at this as well, and Tom was an early person we spoke to. We read his book early on, and that was very influential for us. And aside from Tom and Whole Grain becoming a customer, we started speaking to more and more people that care about digital sustainability. And so we found that customers, a lot of our best customers, they already are thinking about digital sustainability with their website, for instance. They've worked really hard to optimize their website and care about those values there. But then they're looking at the rest of their business and thinking, we have all of these other services and software pieces going on, and none of them align with our values. And so when those are the kinds of customers we've mostly loved working with. And in particular, I don't know how big it is in Italy, but we've seen the growing B Corp movement being really, really influential. I mean, in London, it's become a really, really big deal, and lots of consumers going out there searching for consumer goods that have the B Corp logo on them. And I think we're starting to see that trickle into how businesses buy as well. So we ourselves are going through the B Corp process right now, and hope to be one ourselves. And working with other B Corps is just such an honor, really. It's a real pleasure.
That's it. I think about the B Corp, Nicola and Francesco later on might also add something interesting, because as I see it is also growing a lot here. Thank you very much for your speech.
Sorry, Pietro,
websites seem a little thing compared to the services or the cars or the other components of the carbon footprint of corporations. However, these are the things that we have in front of us every day. So I think if we learn to be more carbon aware on what we do, every other minute, in essence, we will have that mindset also for the more important things. Thank you very much, Nicola.
And we have a question from an attendant for James. What's the improvement in percentage reduction of CO2 you can achieve with your system compared not to applying it? So on average.
Yeah, we've certainly found that we can, through some of those improvements we've been talking about, often we sort of use the file size as a proxy for energy usage and ultimately carbon footprint. But we've seen we can reduce things. Our estimates say to less than a third of what was previously the case.
Yeah.
And we're actually conducting some research right now to really try and be more, give people much more accuracy on this. I think anyone who's done carbon reporting and carbon accounting will know how difficult it can be to build truly trusted benchmarks on carbon reduction and carbon footprinting. And one of the things we've been trying to do is try to build some of that data set and that methodology. And so we're really excited to be trying to make progress there, because there's just been so little information out there for the baseline versus what we can do. But we certainly, we know that the work we've been doing, the template piece, the email templates, we can a lot of them we've reduced by to less than a third in size, and then we think about the audience size as well, and the renewable energy hosting as well. So all of those things combined. So that's sort of been what we've seen so far, and hopefully going to be providing more and more transparent metrics and reporting around this to help the whole industry also move in that direction too.
Yeah. So thank you, James.